Today we're going to talk about strokes and a disorder they can cause called aphasia. So tell me, what exactly is a stroke?
Well, according to the CDC, a stroke occurs when blood supply to the brain is blocked or if a blood vessel in the brain bursts. So as a result of this, parts of the brain become damaged or die. They also say, the CDC, that a stroke can cause brain damage, long-term disability, and even death.
Interesting. Now, what does a stroke look like?
Well, the CDC also gives us some great examples of what a stroke can look like. This includes sudden numbness or weakness in the face or limbs, especially on one side of the body, sudden confusion, trouble speaking or understanding speech, sudden trouble with vision, trouble with walking, dizziness, loss of balance, or lack of coordination, and then sudden and severe headaches. They also give us this great acronym for what to do if you recognize someone having a stroke. That acronym is FAST, F-A-S-T. F stands for face. Ask the person to smile and look for drooping in their face. A stands for arms. Ask the person to raise their arms and look for one arm drifting downward. S stands for speech. Ask the person to repeat something simple. Listen for slurred or strange speech. And T stands for time. Quickly call 911 if you notice any of these signs.
So, what can we do to prevent strokes from happening in the first place?
Well, the CDC tells us there are several ways we can help prevent strokes. That includes having a healthy diet, maintaining a healthy weight, incorporating physical activity into our daily lives, and limiting smoking and alcohol consumption.
That's good to know, especially since paralysis, loss of sensation, problems with thinking and memory, and aphasia, which is a language disorder that affects a person's ability to understand or use language, are all common disabilities that can arise from strokes.
So, Savannah, tell me about the incidence and prevalence of aphasia. How many people does this disorder affect, and how many new cases are there each year?
Well, according to the National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, they estimated in 2015 that there were 180,000 new cases of aphasia per year in the United States. The NIDCD also estimated in 2015 that approximately 1 million people, or 1 in 250 in the United States today, are living with aphasia.
Wow, that's so many cases. It's way more common than I thought. Can you tell me about the different types of aphasia?
Sure. According to the National Aphasia Association, there are 6 different types of aphasia. Global aphasia is the most severe form of aphasia, and it is what we diagnose patients who can produce few recognizable words and understand little or no spoken language. Persons with global aphasia can neither read nor write. The next type of aphasia is Broca's aphasia. Individuals with Broca's aphasia have trouble speaking fluently, but their understanding can be relatively preserved. This type of aphasia is also known as non-fluent or expressive aphasia. Patients have difficulty producing grammatically correct sentences, and their speech is limited mainly to short utterances of less than 4 words. The next type is mixed non-fluent aphasia, and it applies to people who have sparse and effortful speech resembling severe Broca's aphasia. However, unlike people with Broca's aphasia, mixed non-fluent aphasia patients remain limited in their understanding of speech, similar to people with Wernicke's aphasia, which is what we're talking about next. Wernicke's aphasia, when we see it, the ability to grasp the meaning of spoken words and sentences is impaired, while the ease of talking is not very affected. Therefore, Wernicke's aphasia is also referred to as fluent aphasia or receptive aphasia. Reading and writing are often severely impaired. As in other forms of aphasia, individuals can have preserved understanding outside of speech and language. Persons with Wernicke's aphasia can produce many words, and they often speak using grammatically correct sentences with a normal rate, but they use nonsense words that they aren't really aware of that they're actually producing. The next type is anomic aphasia. Anomic aphasia is one of the more mild forms of aphasia. People with anomic aphasia have a consistent feeling of having a word stuck on the tip of their tongue, but they just can't find it. They particularly struggle with significant nouns and verbs. Their speech is fluent and grammatically correct, but it's full of vague words such as thing. The last type that we're going to talk about is primary progressive aphasia, or PPA. And it's a neurological syndrome in which language capabilities become slowly and progressively impaired. Unlike other forms of aphasia that result from stroke or brain injury, PPA is caused by neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease.
Wow, I didn't know there were so many types. The American Speech and Hearing Association lists some great tips, though, for communicating with someone who has aphasia.
That's so cool. What are some of them?
Well, some tips include getting their attention before you start speaking, keeping eye contact with the person, talking to them in a quiet place, keeping your voice at a normal level. You don't need to talk louder unless they ask you to. Keep the words you use simple but adult and don't talk down to them. Use shorter sentences, slow down your speech, and then give them time to speak. It might take them longer, and try not to finish sentences for them.
That's really interesting. I'm glad to know that there's something that I can do to help. If you want to learn more about aphasia, as well as some resources for those living with aphasia, be sure to check out the National Aphasia Association. They have definitions of all the aphasias at www.aphasia.org. Lingraphica has a support group finder for those with aphasia at www.aphasia.com. The National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke has an aphasia information page that you can find at www.ninds.nih.gov. And the American Speech Language Hearing Association also has a page on aphasia at www.asha.org.
Wow, those are some great resources, Savannah. Thank you all for listening.